Welcome back, friends. I've got an interesting video for you today, and it's about game difficulty. Roughly a month ago, I stumbled upon a video from Fextralife, a fantastic channel I might add, titled, Elden Ring Doesn't Need an Easy Difficulty, Here's Why. The narrator gave his opinion regarding Elden Ring and difficulty settings, which is what made me want to make this video. In short, in Fextralife's video, he advocated against easy difficulty settings, citing numerous claims that easy modes tend to, give the game away, so to speak. Fextralife's remarks weren't entirely unwarranted, and I can understand where his opinions are coming from, but I respectfully disagree. Here are 4 reasons, and they're my reasons, why I believe easy modes or other difficulty settings are necessary in video gaming. Number 1. Different difficulties are optional. As the title suggests, and essentially speaking, the inclusion of easier settings won't inhibit your ability to play the game on a harder mode. It only adds more options for those of us who don't want to play the game on a more difficult setting. Again, placing easier modes only adds to the game. It doesn't remove anything. Meaning if you don't like the easy modes, well, you don't have to play them as they are optional. So the question should be, are easy modes hurting the game in any way? My answer would have to be no. No damage is done to the core gameplay, since you're not forced into playing any one specific difficulty setting. Since these settings are optional, you're not missing out, but some gamers do gain some accessibility. And say, for certain gamers with arthritis or any kind of crippling disease, it is nice for easier settings to be placed into games so those certain people can play the games. Number 2, financial. Even though Fextralife did mention in his video that financial gain shouldn't be a motivating factor, let's all be honest here. Developers are here to make money. Yes, they're here to make great games too, but that also includes making money. After all, these developers have to eat. And let's not forget that an increase in revenue should mean that the developers get more funds. And if they get more funds, they can make even better games. Maybe purchase better technology to produce these games. You know where I'm going with that. In addition, I am living proof that keeping games difficult, for difficulty's sake, limits developers' revenue. Here's what I mean. Once I discovered that Elden Ring is going to be like Dark Souls, I said, I'm out. I'm making a conscious decision to not buy Elden Ring because I know the game is going to contain a level of difficulty that I don't want to engage with. Which brings me to point number 3. Time, age, handicaps. I kind of mentioned some of this before already, but here I go. At 40 years old, I have neither the time nor the will to attempt playing a game that requires so much attention. This is just a salient fact of life, that as you age, and responsibilities outweigh fun time, what little time we middle-aged men and women do have to indulge in gaming is limited to what we will have fun with for X amount of time. Meaning we may not always have the time to play super difficult games. Imagine if every single game that was ever developed only had one difficulty setting. Brutally difficult. Could you imagine playing every single game like that? Me personally, I would play less games. So, it doesn't make any sense. Now, unless, of course, your idea of a good time is brutal difficulty, then by all means have at it. But for me, I choose not to dive into difficult games right out of the gate. Which brings me to point number 4. Difficulty changes allows for replayability. I am living proof, again, that having easier difficulty settings allows for some gamers to excel at games. And they can do this if a ladder of progress is available. Kind of like training wheels, as a good comparative analogy. Here's what I mean, though. Take Resident Evil 3 Remake, for example. That game has multiple difficulty settings. I started playing on easy mode. After beating the game easily, I understood the mechanics and the AI well enough to step it up a notch. Which I did. In fact, I couldn't stop stepping it up until I completed the game in every difficulty setting with S rank on all difficulties. That was quite the achievement for me, I might add. Why was I able to do this? Because I had the option of going through the game each time with the difficulty slightly higher than the last. I was able to learn how to play better as each difficulty allowed. Meaning the intense difficulty wasn't thrown at me all at once. I had time to adjust my playstyle to get good. Let's be honest, if a game is too difficult at the onset, a lot of people will give up and move on. I've done that countless times in the past, which is why I'm so picky about the games I play now. But I do have one compromise that those in Camp Fextralife may like. Now hear me out on this. I think this is a pretty good compromise. I wish companies would actually implement this, and they never will, but I just want to say it anyway. What if developers like From Software were to include a warning as to which difficulty the developer's original intent was? Let's just say you have a game with 4 basic difficulty settings, such as easy, normal, hard, nightmare. What if the 4 developers placed in parentheses an acronym like DOI that could stand for Developer's Original Intent, or say DOD, Developer's Original Difficulty, and they could write this or type this next to the right of the difficulty setting that would alert every gamer of which difficulty setting was originally intended. As like a warning, hey, you want the difficulty setting that we originally made this game with? This is the one you should pick then. It would be literally that easy. And wouldn't that be a fair compromise? You'd know exactly which difficulty the developers originally had in mind, and you'd be able to shoot for that setting immediately. Conversely, people like me would be able to choose the lesser difficulty setting to start things off. In closing, I completely understand where Fextralife and others like him are coming from, but I find that there are far more pros than cons to adding multiple difficulty settings. Now, I will say that if a developer like From Software is dedicated to keeping one single difficulty setting in their games, then that's fine. That's their prerogative. I can't fault them for that. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry for the long wait between videos, but with school and life, you know how it is. I gotta do what I gotta do. So, until the next video, have fun.